Before we get stuck in, I just want to give a quick thank you shout out to my Mutt tier Patreons. We have Glad Goku, Dare Denny, Kale Bennett, That Jordo, Ken K of Warheads, Super Hyper Mecha SP Mark II, Cyrus the Skeptic, and new year, new pair of underpants. That's right, I change them yearly. Thank you. Hi, what's up? I'm Channel Pup, the mascot for the Level-Headed Fanboy, and today we are reviewing the third and, at least for now, final season of Sonic Prime, wrapping up Sonic's latest 23-episode-long multiverse adventure. Realistically, this is the story of Sonic Prime. This is the end of the show. At the time of Season 1's release, 23 episodes were made and released in 8-episode batches that Netflix refer to as seasons as a sly way to claim that the show ran for more seasons than it really did. And in the time between Season 1's release and now, no plans have been put into place for another set of Sonic Prime seasons, so it is safe to assume that that's that for Man of Action and Wild Brain's Sonic Toon. Now, this video is going to be a spoiler-filled analysis of the third season and just kind of the show as a whole, so if you haven't seen it yet, just click off of this one, unless you don't care about spoilers, but it'll be waiting for you when you get back if you choose to, avert your gaze. Now, before we get fully stuck in, my channel is chock full of Sonic stuff, and there is more on the way. So if you love Sonic the Hedgehog, be sure to hit subscribe because there is plenty more where this came from, and you won't be disappointed. If you're already subscribed and you're thinking you want to support me a little further, there is a link to my Patreon page in the description below. It comes with rewards and it is super appreciated. So, to quickly recap my thoughts on the first two batches of episodes, I felt that Sonic Prime had some standout moments and interesting ideas. I really like this take on Sonic. I am aware he's a bit of a departure from the game's version, but I do prefer a more flawed version of Sonic to the flat character arc version that just inspires everybody else. His quickness is as much a weakness as it is a power, as he's often impatient to spring into action, and I really like that. Impatience has always been a facet of Sonic's character dating back to his idle animations, so to see that as a core trait and his main character flaw is really cool. I also love how Shadow has been characterized too. This show is probably the best thing to happen to Shadow in decades. He's got a respectful and compassionate rapport with Sonic, but he's a great no-nonsense straight man to Sonic's larger-than-life personality in a way that doesn't come off as the sort of try-hard, friendless, edgy boy that we've been seeing in a lot of the more recent Sonic games when Shadow has made his rare appearances. Granted, I was pretty disappointed by the show's flimsy and inconsistent excuses to limit Shadow's screen time when his dynamic with Sonic was the best aspect of the show. But I did enjoy some of the multiverse variant characters, such as Rusty Rose and Nine. I think the inhabitants of New York City are the most well thought out characters in the show, although I feel like the show is trying to figure out things to do with Rebel and Knux, and the differences between them and, say, Knuckles and Rouge are pretty minuscule. But I really like Rusty Rose, who's just kind of a straight-up tragic badass, and Nine is kind of cool because he's like Tails without his undying trust in Sonic, and he's someone that Sonic probably shouldn't completely trust, but does, being another one of Sonic's character flaws. Characterization in Sonic Prime for, the main characters is pretty solid, but that being said, I thought the first season suffered from a really rubbish antagonistic force with Mr. Dr. Eggman and his Chaos Council. Sure, Dr. Eggman is a relatively comedic character, but don't rob him of all of his dignity, especially when we're to believe that this is the one that won. Shows like Sonic Boom have given us a softer Eggman, and The Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog gave us a much more comedic take on Dr. Robotnik, but we were never led to believe that these were the Eggmen that won, and they also succeeded in that they were actually funny. Then there are the other universes, or Shadowverses, or whatever you want to call them. While New York felt somewhat fleshed out, even if I don't buy that these are the egg people that could have achieved this, the Pirate and Forest universes just felt like the same old Sonic cast with a silly Snapchat filter on them that turns them into pirates or cavemen. It feels like more of a gimmick than anything else. But the biggest problem for me has to be the pacing. It's very repetitive, and the premise feels incredibly drawn out. Season 1 had some cool moments exploring a world where Eggman had finally won, and some fairly intelligently written environmental stories, but smothering all of that was just a lot of the same. Sonic's entered a new world and he can't seem to grasp that these variants of his friends aren't the ones that he knows. Season 2 seemed to bring up some interesting questions, with Nine betraying Sonic, stealing the Paradox Prism for himself to make his own perfect world in Grim, all because Sonic never once considered what he actually wanted or would even happen to him were Green Hill restored. But that too is smothered by just a lot of retrieving the shards, losing the shards, retrieving the shards, losing the shards, and so it goes. A lot of this I can kind of chalk up to it being a kids show, and for the most part it's just more content, but that doesn't fix the fact that this story is just obnoxiously drawn out, and as far as these 2 8-episode batches go, there's about 4 episodes worth of story here at most. But I guess for more positives, I really like the animation. It's very expressive and full of movement and life. The voice cast are all really strong, despite not really understanding why Knuckles has 2 different voice actors. I think the best voice for Knuckles in this show though is Vincent Tong as the New York version, Knux. It was an acquired taste, as giving him kinda a New York accent is a very unique decision, but it definitely grew on me and I can kinda just see it. Devin Mack is perfect as Sonic, and I really hope to hear more of him later down the line. Not as a replacement for Roger Craig Smith by any means, but for other projects running parallel. He is terrific. I gotta recognize that this is an adult's perspective on a TV show that is made predominantly for children. I don't take for granted that every children's TV show be super enjoyable for adults, so this review isn't necessarily feedback. I understand why a lot of this show is the way that it is, so much as this is more of an analysis for the many adult Sonic fans that are likely to have tuned into the show, or maybe thinking about it and don't care about spoilers. Even then, being made for kids doesn't necessarily make it immune from criticism, especially when the show is clearly trying to tell a fairly deep story that's full of lore and fan service.
Yo, Coach Brett here, interrupting the video for a little bit of movement. All right, guys, so we're gonna do a little thing called the couch stretch. So if you've got tight hips, maybe some hip tension, maybe you're going up the stairs and it doesn't feel that great, you're gonna wanna do this. So what you wanna do first is bring your foot around so that the top of your foot rests on whatever chair or couch that you have behind you. You're gonna wrap your leg around so that your knee is up. You want to tilt your butt in like you're driving it through your legs. And then typically, this is where you'd wanna stay. If you want a little bit more tension, you just drive your body forward a little bit more. Hope this helps.
Hey there, Coach Brett here with True Capacity, your path to a healthier you. And at True Capacity, we've got programs tailored specifically for you. It's a bodyweight program that all you need is just your body weight, a little determination. We've got a minimal equipment program where you don't really need anything, just the essentials. And then we also have a full gym access program where really the only thing you need is a gym membership and you're good to go. So let's embark on this journey together and click the link down below for more details. Thanks, guys. Excited to see you in there.
So Season 3 picks up where Season 2 left off. Nine's abandoned Sonic and taken the Paradox Prism Shards to the Grim to create his very own paradise. So Sonic and Shadow give chase. Sonic wanting to reason with Nine, but Shadow ready to use brutal force if he has to. But wait, how can Shadow access the Grim to confront Nine when he can't get through the dimensional gates? Side entrance. I'm not joking, there's literally a side entrance. A crack in the side that he could just get through. It is that convenient and that flimsy. Of course, after playing a fairly prominent role in episode 1, Shadow is then benched until the last couple of episodes by getting quite literally tossed aside. So while Nine has assembled the Prism, it can't create his dream world without Sonic's Prism energy, so Nine needs Sonic. So okay, having Nine as the main antagonist this time is legitimately pretty cool and a big upgrade from the Chaos Council, even though they are still here and they are still cringe. What if Tails went too far and decided to play God? That's a cool concept, but sadly, all we ever see that concept amount to is a dome, some robots, and a castle. That is literally as far as it goes. Although I did enjoy him communicating with Sonic in New York via giant holograms. That went kinda hard and was pretty Blade Runner-y, so I did like that. But in terms of a Tails that's gone too far and is now trying to play God, this is so flimsy. So now, Sonic assembles a team together of all of his multiversal friends from across the Shadow Spaces, forming an alliance with the Chaos Council, as the multiverse now hangs in the balance, with Nine doing more and more damage. And so, for the remaining episodes up until the finale, it is all a big battle in the Grim, as Nine unleashes wave after wave of robots, and Sonic and his Shadowverse squad, as I'm going to call it now, have to fight them. Again, and again, and again, and again, as they just keep getting back up. Again, and again, and again. Yeah. So I was bored out of my brains. I can see why the writing studio are called Man of Action and not Man of Pacing. Now, interspersed among these action beats are the occasional character moments. You've got a lot of Sonic trying to reason with Nine, but Nine's just super cheesed off. You've got a lot of the characters feeling defeated, then suddenly very motivated. One thing I did enjoy was Black Rose, Thorn Rose, and Rusty Rose forming a sisterhood. That was really cute. There was also a funny moment where a literal background character tried to confront Dr. Deep, who just asks who the hell that character even is. Genuinely, the funniest moment in the show. But that's it. You could fit all of this in one episode and have room to breathe still. Sonic's negotiations with Nine even become repetitive too, as Sonic is just like, we're your friends, Nine. Oh, Nine, we can make this right. And I was like, you've gone too far this time, Sonic. I hate you. This carries on until the finale, where the battle is taken to Nine's lab, where Sonic realizes that Nine did have intentions of restoring Green Hill along with the Grim, as he's kept a couple of palm trees about. Would have been, good if Nine had mentioned something about that earlier. And then Nine, while he's still feeling pretty hurt by Sonic, learns to realize that Sonic only had good intentions too. So okay, on paper, I don't hate the idea that in all of the action and bluster, these guys failed to communicate their intentions properly, creating this conflict. The problem is, Nine's fate if Sonic were to restore Green Hill is never explored, and when Nine betrays Sonic at the end of Season 2, he had so many opportunities to tell Sonic to just hear him out, but instead he's like, nah mate, screw your old world, we're making a new world in Grim instead. But then on top of that, would that not still mean that the OG Sonic characters are still dead and that Nine's world would just be a copy? But these questions are never once explored. It's almost like all that time the show spent showing the team fighting hordes of robots could have been spent exploring those burning questions. So this twist that the two were actually on the same page all along just makes Season 3's conflict feel like the biggest waste of time, and makes me as an audience member feel kind of gaslit because there are plenty of scenes of Sonic and Nine just talking, and they say things that outright contradict these intentions. And then Nine feeling as offended and hurt as he did, feeling like Sonic sees him as an invalid person, is just never explored. But okay, even though Sonic and Nine have reconciled, the damage is done, and reality as we know it will cease to exist unless Sonic sacrifices himself. Which he does, draining himself of his power, life, and object permanence, until he's merely a phantom of his former self. Not only does this save all the universes, Green Hill is also restored, and if Sonic can make it home in time, he'll survive. So after saying his goodbyes to the cast and making amends with Nine, the friends he's made on the journey guide him home. Thorn Rose takes him for a ride on the back of Birdie for the first leg of the journey, before Black Rose takes him for the second leg, before Shadow is finally the one to bring him home. Now, I'm not gonna lie, this on paper could be an absolutely beautiful way to close this out. All the friends Sonic has saved bringing him home when he's too weak to go it alone. That could be a real tearjerker and a really nice goodbye to those characters. But in actuality, 90% of them just kind of stand around. So then we return back to Green Hill and all of the characters we know and love are restored, at fucking last. We see the original events that caused the prism to shatter, except things go a bit differently, with a Sonic that's more of a team player, more receptive. And closing off the battle, Shadow arrives, taking the Paradox Prism away from Eggman using Chaos Control. And then, a la It's a Wonderful Life, Sonic and his friends reflect on this new, better Sonic before they have to spring into action, as it looks like the prism might have shattered again. Maybe Shadow broke it this time, who knows? It's probably just kinda a metaphorical way of bookending the story with a silly, fun, meaningless cliffhanger that tells us that the adventure continues and this is just a regular day in the life of Sonic. So yeah, It's still Sonic Prime. Probably because it's all one season, so no, each season isn't necessarily going to be a step up based on any kind of feedback. But I have to say, Season 3 by a small margin is the weakest of the bunch. After the first couple of episodes, it's just a seemingly endless slog of Sonic's Shadowverse squad fighting robots all in one location. And it doesn't matter that these robots resemble Sonic and friends, they are just cannon fodder. The reasons for Shadow's limited screen time are as flimsy as ever. Eggman is still a total non-presence. We don't spend nearly enough time with the OG cast, Nine's conflict is half-baked, and we never get to see or explore his vision for the Grim. Okay, I've given Sonic Prime enough slack in the past. I've given it the benefit of the doubt. Top to bottom, this sucks. And given that this is all one ongoing story, the fact that the ending is so unsatisfying, so padded out, yet so rushed, reflects negatively on the rest of the story because it didn't amount to anything. But okay, even with my misgivings, it would still be a flawed thing, but there's honestly a pretty solid show buried within all of this. There is a solid 90-minute story in here. Sonic's impatience accidentally shattering the universe as he knows it, stumbling across New York, meeting a Tails that he shouldn't trust but wants to, going to other worlds and helping them, Shadow coming along for the ride, Nine's betrayal, Sonic's sacrifice, Shadow gaining respect for him, his friends guiding him home. This would make an awesome 90 to 120 minute feature, or maybe a mini-series. It would still have its flaws, but it'd be by no means bad. And I gotta say, I love how Sonic gradually redeems himself over the course of the series. How everyone he encounters in this show either meets him initially with hostility, or just doesn't take him very seriously and thinks he's a bit of a joke. Then by the end, he's saved everyone and they're all by his side. That stuff is so good. And I know it's a hot take, but I love this version of Sonic. There's just so much in here that is good that just makes it all the worse that it's bogged down by such bad pacing. And as much as I would love to, I just cannot ignore that. There is about 100 minutes approximately of great stuff in Sonic Prime. A 480-minute long show. And yeah, that put into perspective shows just how padded this whole thing was. It's obnoxious, and made worse yet by what other cool ideas could have filled that extra time. And at the end of the day, Sonic was going to these other worlds where there are pirate versions of him and cavemen versions, etc. That's not an idea that I'm really all that into. It's a tired concept, but I do get why they chose it. They can sell toys, kids will probably like it. But I think for all that screen time, finding and losing the same shards, fighting the same hordes of robots, and Sonic just generally being tongue-tied at the idea of these people not being his friends, we could have spent more time in flashbacks to the original Green Hill. Get some more time with the OG cast that were on the posters, reinforcing why they matter so much to Sonic and to us as the audience. You could have a whole episode with the OG cast. That's the thing, if we're getting a Sonic show, I really want to see these characters, and they're barely in this. Why did we need, and why would we even want 5 different versions of Dr. Eggman? Why do we need the Chaos Council? They're so lame. Just have one Dr. Eggman. Make him more competent than the Eggman we know. Don't call him Mr. Dr. Eggman. Allow him some dignity. Call him something like Supreme Conqueror Eggman or something. Make him slim or buff or just more impressive. Make him lamer than the OG. The fuck's all that about? Remember all those theories that the Chaos Council were all extracted from other dimensions, allowing Mr. Dr. Eggman to win? Or that Eggman Prime would take advantage of their accomplishments and weaponize them? Damn, those sounded 1,000 times cooler than what we got. This was a total disservice to one of gaming's most iconic villains. I can't believe that Eggman got fumbled this badly. Also, okay, the writer of the games at the moment, Ian Flynn, has now pretty much openly clarified that his comments about the show being canon to the games were really more just kind of to sell the importance of the show, when in actuality, it's another perfectly disposable Sonic adventure that will maybe get a couple of name drops at best in a later game. Maybe. I get why that was done, but the fact he's kind of asserting that this doesn't have to hold any bearing on Sonic continuity suggests maybe a response to a general consensus that this story just wasn't great. Also, because it is the subject of the biggest controversy of the show, I'm gonna say it. My appreciation for the fact that we have these little sprite animations set in the world of Sonic Advance 3 featuring Gemal outweighs my frustration at how sloppy the sprite utilization is. I genuinely couldn't care less. But I have seen fan sprite animations that are a lot better. I just don't get why this is the thing that people are so upset about with Sonic Prime, rather than the fact that it just felt like a colossal waste of time. But I mean, to each their own, of course. As far as this sort of post-movie Sonic boom of content kind of goes, I gotta admit that Prime is definitely one of the weaker points. It's not as embarrassing or as egregious as, say, Sonic Colors Ultimate or Sonic Origins, but this is not in the upper margin of post-2020 Sonic content. It doesn't hold a candle to the films, or Frontiers, or Dream Team, or any of that. It is absolutely one of the weaker projects in this new roster as far as I'm concerned. I'd also go so far to say that this is, in my opinion, the second worst Sonic TV show, beating out Sonic Underground at the very least. It's just so long and just utterly mediocre. Looking to the future though, I am hoping that Wild Brain Animation will return for a continuation of sorts, or just another Sonic TV show, as I really like the look of this one. I'm hoping we could get this voice cast back too. I don't think I want Man of Action on the project though, based on Sonic Prime. I was not fond of the writing in this one at all, but I would like a continuation with this animation style and voice cast. This time, maybe go more the Sonic X route, where you can have an overarching narrative, but episode stories are relatively self-contained, with extended stories topping out at about 2 to 4 parts, rather than one story told over 23 parts. That's just too much, at least for the story we've told already. And please, no more multiverses. Let us spend time with the beloved versions of the Sonic cast, and have them go on adventures in their own world. And for God's sake, flesh it out. All we saw of their world was Green Hill. Where's the rest of it? All we saw of every world in this was Green Hill. Sonic refers to his home universe as Green Hill. Look, I get that Sega likes to pretend that Green Hill is the only place that exists in Sonic, but don't you guys take it so literally. Even giving us Chemical Plant would be an improvement on this. Of course, what I'm describing here isn't my ideal Sonic project, it's just something I would be happy to see. The real dream for me would be to have Powerhouse Animation take on a hand-drawn Sonic show, but I also recognize that CGI is the more economic route to take, and I really enjoyed how Prime looked at the very least. Maybe get Powerhouse on a feature film down the line instead. Okay. I know that there's going to be people out there that are disappointed that I didn't enjoy the show more than I did. And I get it, if you really enjoyed the show and it does mean something to you, and I know that there are people that this did resonate with, it can kind of be a bit of a bum rap hearing someone this apathetic about it. And again, I do get that it is for kids as well. Like, I do want to try and demonstrate a bit of self-awareness here. The show is clearly not made necessarily for me. With that being said, you know, like Sonic X was for kids, but it didn't feel like it was talking down, if you get me. Or say, like, Sonic Boom if you want to go for a more comedic approach. There's bound to be more Sonic TV shows in the future, and I hope there will be. But for now, this one didn't do it for me. Super disappointed, but my opinion isn't the only one that matters. What do you guys think? Comment below, discuss, and as always, if you enjoyed this video and you want to support more like it, be sure to hit subscribe, hit the like button, and in the description below is the link to my Patreon page, where you can get updates about my upcoming Sonic fan project, which will be releasing on YouTube at some stage, and for as little as $1 a month, get your name in the credits of these videos, with a special shout out going to the patrons in the $5 and $10 tiers. And their names are KLX, Richard Rogers, Glad Goku, Dare Denny, SSS06, Kale Bennett, That Jordo, Ken K of Warheads, Dazzle Fizzle, Super Hyper Mecha SP Mark II, Cirrus the Skeptic, New Year, New Pair of Underpants, that's right, I change them yearly, and Vera Wild. Thank you so much to you folks for your generosity, and to all of you at home, thank you so much for watching, and have a great day. Get out.